Hello, this is Patrick with Roy's. Today we'll be learning how to make a level scene manager for Godot. This will help simplify loading and managing your level scenes. Alright, let's jump right in. So as you can see, I've got three scenes here, level scene manager scene, a level 1, and a level 2 scene. So the level scene manager is just this node 2D that I have a script attached to, and then your levels after that can be whatever you want them to be. So I'm going to go and open up this script. And I've gotten rid of some of the excess code, so the comments and stuff from here. So the first things first is we're going to want to get a list of the scenes that we want to load. So to do that, we'll go using Godot.collections, and then we will do export array, and then we will make this take in a type of packed scene. Then we will call these editor scenes. Then we will export. Actually, I'm going to put this up above a int, and then this will be the index of the scene we'll load. First scene index, we'll call this. And we'll set this by default to be 0. Alright, now that we've got the scenes from the editor in here, we will go, and we'll have to try and make them into a different format so that we can work with them easier, and it'll do a few more things for us. So we'll go public class, we'll make a class in here, and we'll call this loadable scenes, or scene. And then in this, we'll have a public string scene name, and then we'll have another public packed scene, and then this will be the scene. We'll make a constructor for this, so we'll go public loadable scene, then we'll take in a string, scene name, and then we will take in a packed scene, and we'll call this, once again, scene. So now what we'll do is we'll say this dot scene name is equal to scene name. So the scene name, this one, is equal to this one. And then we'll say this dot scene is equal to scene. Doing basically the same thing there. So now we will have to put these packed scenes into this loadable scene format. So we'll go up here and we'll change this to system.collections.generic, because we'll be also switching this away from the Godot array system, because when you hover over this, it'll tell you that you should probably be using C# lists rather than Godot lists unless you're interfacing directly with the game engine, and we won't be doing it after this. So we'll go private list, and then we will call this, or have take in loadable scene, and we'll call this loadable scenes, and set this equal to new list loadable scenes. Alright, now what we need to do is populate this list, so we'll make a function down here called private void populate loadable scenes list, and then we'll go for, and we'll set this, the length, to be the editor scenes dot count, so it won't go over the amount of scenes that we have in this. And then we'll say if editor scenes I equals null, we'll continue. So we won't add this to the loadable scenes list if it's null. Then we'll make another function down here, because we'll make a function to add them to the list. We'll call this function public int add level scene to scene list. Then we'll take in the parameters packed scene. Whoops. We'll call this scene. Now we'll say if scene is equal to null, we will return -1, which will mean it failed. Now we'll want to get the name of the scene that we're getting, or we're adding to the list to populate this field. So we'll go string name is equal to scene dot underscore bundled. And then bundled has an array of, like a field that's called names, and that's an array of all the node names within the bundle. Or within the scene, sorry. And then we'll say as Godot collections array, and then we'll type, and then we'll just get the first one. So that'll be, if we go back into Godot here, that'll be like this node, or in level 1, it'll be this top node that's called level 1. So that'll be the name of our scene. And then we'll have to cast this again. So as a string, so that it knows what this is. And there we go. Oh, wait, we can get rid of this since I got rid of the systems library instead up here. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to go and loop through all the scenes we've got. So for, and then we'll say loadable scenes dot count. Now, we just want to make sure that the name of the scene is unique, because we can use the name to identify each scene, so we don't want any duplicates of the names. So we can go if name is equal to loadable scenes I dot scene name, then we will print an error out and return. So gd.print error duplicate scenes with the name, then let's just append the name. Then we will return -1. All right. So now that that is done, we can go loadable scene. Loadable scene is equal to new loadable scene. Lots of that. And then we'll pass in the name, and we will pass in the scene. Now, perfect. We've got that in the format we want. So now we'll go loadable scenes dot add, and then we'll add the loadable scene. And then we can return the loadable scenes dot count -1. Since this is adding it onto the end, this will give us the index that the scene is stored at within the list. So if you added something to the list and you wanted to keep track of what position it's at, you'll have that. All right. Now we need to add this back to now we need to add this scene to the scene list. So we'll go add level to scene list, and then we will go editor scenes I. And there we go. So now we'll have a list of all the scenes from the editor that we can now load, that are now ready to load. Now we're going to make 3 functions, all with the same name, and these will just be 3 different ways of loading a scene. So we'll go public load, or we'll just do a public void for now, and we'll change this later. Public void load level scene, and then we'll pass in an int, and we'll call this scene index, and this will be the index of the scene that we'll load. So we'll just check to see if the scene index is less than 0, or if the scene index is greater than the loadable scenes dot count. And if it is, we will return. Now we will make another function. We're just going to override this a couple of times, and each one will do similar things. But so we'll go a public void load level scene, and this time we'll take in a string, and this one will be a scene name, and then we'll do another one, and this one will be the final one, public void load level scene, and then we will take a loadable scene, and then scene to load. Perfect. All right. So now we are going to finish this one, and then we'll go back and finish the other two functions after this. So we'll say if the, or if not, the scene to load dot scene, and then we'll check if we can instantiate. So if we can't instantiate it, we will return. Now we'll go int last scene. Actually, we don't have a storage to the last scene we've loaded yet, so I'll do that later. So we'll say node, not name, node, new scene is equal to scene to load dot scene dot instantiate. Now we'll just check again. So if new scene is equal to null, we will return, just in case it failed at instantiating it or something. And then we will add child, new scene. Then we will print the scene's name. So we'll just say gd.print and then scene to load dot scene name. We'll print that out. And I guess let's go finish these functions now. First one, let's go back to this one and finish it. And so we'll just go load level scene. And then we will get the loadable scenes. And then we'll just pass in the scene index. And then this one is done. So if we want to get load a level scene by the index, we'll just call this function and it will load it for us. Now we'll have to check the name, this scene name, to see if it matches the scene name of the level scene that we want to load. So we'll go for, and then we will type loadable scenes dot count, and then we'll see if the scene name matches of the matches the index of the scene that we're on. So we'll go if loadable scenes I dot scene name is equal to scene name, then we will load level scene, loadable scenes, and then we'll pass in, or we'll send the one at the index that we're currently at. And then, so we're not continuously looping through, we will return. All right, so let's test this out. So first things we need to do is in ready, we will populate loadable scenes list, and then we will call the load level scene. So load level scene, and we will do it with the index for now, I guess, or I guess we've got this up here, first scene index. Perfect. So we'll go back to Godot. I'm going to run it just quickly to get it to show the updates here so that we can actually add the scenes to the lists. There they are. And let's add both the scenes to the list. So we've got level 1, you'll go in the first position, level 2, you'll go in the second. So let's run this again. And it loaded the first scene. Now let's change this to 1 and try it again. And it loaded the second scene. Perfect. So everything's working so far. All right, so now what we're going to want to do is get a reference to the current scene that we have loaded so we can kind of just manage that. So if we want to like switch scenes or something, we know exactly which scene we're switching from and to. And yeah, then we can do all kinds of cool stuff with that. So we'll go down here, we'll make another public class, and we'll call this loaded scene. And then we will have a couple fields in here. So we'll have a public, let's go public int scene index. And then we'll have a public string scene name. And then this is why we'll have a different class for this is we'll go public node scene. Rather than a packed scene, we are having a node. So we'll make a constructor for this as well. We'll go public loaded scene. And we will take in all three of these. So we will go int scene index. We will take in string scene name. And then we will take in a node scene. Okay, we'll do the same thing again, where this dot scene index is equal to scene index. We'll go this dot scene name is equal to scene name. And we'll go this dot scene is equal to scene. All right, perfect. So now what we'll do is we'll go up here and we'll create a let's do this public actually. Public loaded scene, not loadable scene. And we'll have this be current scene. And we will have a, let's say, get private set. So externally from the class, we can get it, but we can only set this parameter or this variable inside the class itself. So I guess the current scene, we will go into here in this one and say if current scene does not equal null, well, we'll have to unload that scene. So let's do that. So we will go current scene dot scene dot q free, and that will unload the scene for us. And then we'll set the current scene to be equal to null. Now we will go down here and type current scene is equal to new loaded scene. Then we will get the scene index. So we'll actually need this to be passed in here. So we'll go int scene index. So we'll take the scene index, pass that in. We will take the scene to load and then pass in the scene name. And then we will pass in the new scene. And there we go. That will run that correctly. And we may actually want to return this new loaded scene that we've got. So let's do that. So just so that you have them. So loaded scene, and then we'll go return current scene. And then we'll switch these to returning null. Now we'll have to update these. Let's update these with the returning loaded scenes as well. . Perfect. Okay, and then we will have to return null here. We will return this, since we're getting the loaded scene from this function. We will pass in the scene index, and we will do the same with this. So we will turn here, pass in I as the scene index. This return is now redundant, and we will return null down here. Since it couldn't find the scene in the list, it failed. Now that we've got adding and loading scenes to the list, or now that we've got adding and loading scenes, sorry, we should be removing scenes. So let's go down here and make a couple functions to remove scenes. So we'll go public bool move level scene from list. And these will be very similar to these load scenes up here, where we'll be able to remove scene by index or by name. So we'll go int scene index, and we'll just write the other one down here. So I'll just copy this, and we'll change this to string scene name. Okay, so we will go and actually just copy this if statement up here. No need to write that again. Paste that, and we will return false. Now we'll go loadable scenes dot remove at scene index, and then we will return true. Now we will have to do the for here, and then we will loop through the loadable scenes dot count, and we'll see if the name matches. So we'll go if loadable scenes I dot scene name is equal to scene name, then we will remove at. So we will go loadable scenes dot remove at I, then we will return true. If not, we will return false. Now there's a problem here. Because of this, the current scene that we've got stored may not, since it's got the scene index saved to it, that may be shifted now. So we may have removed the scene behind it, and so now the current scene is, say, at index 3 when it was at index 4 before. So we're going to have to readjust that. So let's make a function called private void adjust int level scenes x. Cool. Now, to do that, we'll just do another for loop. And then we'll go loadable scenes dot count. And then if the loadable scenes dot or I dot scene name is equal to current scene dot scene name. See, this is why we allow you to check by name and by index, just in case it gets thrown off. Then we'll say the current scene dot scene index is equal to I. And we'll return since we've already found it and we don't need to loop through anymore. So now we've got adding, removing, all that good stuff from the list. If now this is like super expandable, you could add like signals. So if you wanted to be notified every time the scene changed or every time a scene was added from the list or whatever, you could. add signals to these things, like a signal here, a signal here, and a signal here and here to let you know that those things have happened. But yeah, this is quite expandable, so let's do a couple more tests, I guess. So first off, let's just do this with a string to make sure that works. So we'll go level 1. And it loaded level 1. Perfect. All right, so now let's try adding a duplicate scene. So let's add level 1 twice and see if it'll accept that. So we'll do that. And it detected that. Perfect. All right, so let's remove that. Let's say, what's something else we can do? I'm just going to switch this back to the scene index. I guess we could do public override process. And then I'm just going to do a double here. Time and equal that to 0. Okay, so time plus equals delta. And if time is over a second, we will just switch to scene 2, I guess. I'll also do a bool. So it's not constantly loading the new scene after the time hits 1 second. So if time is greater than or equal to 1 and has switched is equal to false, then we will switch the scene. So we will go and load scene 2. So load level scene, then we'll load scene 2. So let's see if this works. Whoops. Has switched is equal to true. And it's just, because the first scene, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, switch that. And boom, perfect. We've got scene switching going. All right, I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. Thanks, bye.